Good morning and hello, or maybe good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome, everybody. We're so glad you're with us today. This is the Quantum Mystic podcast. I'm Jane Bear here with my lovely and amazing co host, Lisa Campion. And we're so glad that you're with us today. I just want to start by saying there's something a lot of us I feel like have felt at some point, and that's pressure to figure out our purpose. Like it's a job title or a role, a single path where we're supposedly we're supposed to eventually like figure out and land on. And once we find it, then we'll finally feel like we're doing life right. But purpose was never meant to be that rigid, at least in my opinion. And I'm going to crack the code for you right now. Purpose is a frequency, it's a way of being. It's how you move through the world when you're in alignment with yourself, not something you arrive at and once sort of you check off your list. So, Elise and I are exploring what it means to release the idea that purpose has to look even impressive or productive or even external. And we want to remember that purpose is something that we carry and not something that we really are chasing after. So, we're going to talk about why purpose isn't defined by what you do, but how you are and how alignment shapes your path, really, without needing to force your way through it. And why trying so hard to find your purpose often creates more pressure and a lot of confusion and not less. And what it actually means to live as your purpose instead of endlessly searching for it. So, if you've ever felt sort of behind the game or lost, or like everyone else got the memo on their purpose except you, this conversation is for you. And I feel like Lisa and I, this maybe is their one of the questions that a lot of us that we both get a lot, whether it's one-on-one, working one-on-one with people, or we're teaching a group, or we're doing soul salons, this is a question that she and I get a lot. So let's dive in. This is a good conversation.
Yeah, so good. And I just want to invite you, if you're following along, please comment, please share your experiences in the comment. Looks like we have, I think that's Rich Soul Plasma. Good morning to you. Yay. And our tech guy says the Facebook feed isn't working. So sorry about that. But hopefully you're watching us on YouTube or you're watching after the fact. And if you are watching, comment, because we love to hear your experience and really have a conversation. But yeah, Jane, I totally agree. Like this is like probably the single most question I've ever gotten asked as a psychic, which surprised me because I thought it would be like, oh, relationships or money, health, but it's purpose. And it just seems to like drive people nuts when they don't know what their purpose is. And I think the big confusion has come in thinking that it's like a job. Like somehow you become spiritual, you go through your spirit, you start your spiritual journey, you have your spiritual awakening, and then you have to quit your corporate job and open a yoga studio or open a spiritual healing center. And that is, that's not a job everyone can do. Like how many yoga studios and healing centers would there be on the planet if that was everybody's purpose? So it's not a job, it's so much deeper. I love what you said. It's a frequency. To me, it seemed like a state of being, like an aspect of our beingness, right? And the closer we get to living in our authentic beingness, the more we're just naturally living in our purpose, sort of unfolds in front of our feet in a very natural way. Because I used to say, as an example, you could take me out of my office and put me in McDonald's flipping hamburgers, and I'm going to still give people Reiki and talk to their dead grannies because I can't help it. It's just what I do all the time. It's just me being me no matter where I am. I think that's more like, for me, what purpose really is.
Yeah, and I often say it's like it's your essence, it's your unique expression of the divine that's moving through you no matter what you do, whether you're working at McDonald's or, you're working with, billion-dollar clients, like, it doesn't matter. Um, and and it's so just to kind of take that off the table, I feel like is a relief because if we say if you're living you're either living your purpose because you found the right career or you're failing, like that's a big I feel like people feel that way throughout their life, like they're failing
Yeah.
because they don't have the job, the career, the title, the role that they finally arrived at and they're living their purpose. But really that's such a narrow container for something that really is like an expression that's so much bigger. And I feel like,
Mm.
purpose isn't the what, it's the how. It's the quality of presence you bring whenever you're doing with whatever you're doing. And in that way, like 2 people, we know this to be true. 2 people can hold the exact same job title, and one is doing it, and they're doing it completely differently. One might be doing it because it feels like they're doing it for money or obligation or just going through the motions when somebody else is like genuinely caring for the people in front of them. So it's like this.
Yeah.
And so that's and how, it's a completely different frequency. And
100%.
let's see. Soul Plasma says, and which who is Rich. Hi, Rich. I feel like my purpose right now is to learn. Yeah, I love that. It can absolutely change. I mean, it like what you're doing, but the expression of how you're learning, right? It's like that you're in a learning phase of your life. And
I love what Schloop said here too. Like, we radiate who we are, whether we know it or not. That is super wise.
yeah.
And I think, sums up what we're saying exactly. And I feel like, you know, our purpose is sort of more like, I was working with somebody sweet, empath, just gentle, lovey, sweetie pie person who to me like felt like their purpose was to give love onto the planet, to be love into the planet. And she's like a kindergarten teacher, and she's like fosters stray cats and dogs, and she rescues houseplants out of the trash. You know what I mean? Like, this is so adorable and so incredibly important. And what purpose could be more important than bringing love onto the planet? It's right up there. And I just feel like sometimes our purpose is not acknowledged as important by society. She was sort of, her parents, she's young, she's like in her early 20s, and her parents are like pushing her to quit this job that'll never get anywhere and won't ever pay her anywhere, and like toughen up and go to law school. And I'm like, this little sweetie pie would like, that would be like this throwing the snowball into hell, kind of sending her to law school. And I'm like, no, like you can't, no, that's not going to work out for you, And I think a lot of times we suffer greatly. We're truly miserable, absolutely, truly miserable when we're trying to do the thing, be the thing that we're not, right?
100%.
It's like the biggest misery we can have.
So then the question comes like, well, how because society, we still do need to support ourselves and pay rent and do all these things. And so it becomes confusing. Like, okay, how do we live that frequency and pay the bills? I think that's often where people get kind of caught
Yep.
up. And
It's tricky.
so we're what we believe when you're in full alignment with yourself, with this purpose. It's like, basically what we're taught is that if you want a certain outcome, you have to like push for it. You have to push towards it. You have to force it, make it happen through sheer will. But alignment works the opposite. And when your alignment, meaning your inner state, actually matches what you're doing and how you're doing it, your path just starts to organize itself around that. And not because you're forcing anything. It's just that doors start opening and you don't even have to push at all. And so it's like you're not making it happen. You're just getting out of the way so that it can happen. You're getting out of your own, confines of what it needs to look like.
Yeah. I think that's such a good reminder. And, you know, I also think too, like we can sort of broaden our definition of how our purpose shows up in the world, you know? So I know a lot of healer types because I train healers, because part of my purpose is to, you know, create an army of healers to go out there and save the world. And I've been doing that. I look back, I say that, you know, my mission in life is to create an army of healers to go out there and save the world. And I've literally been doing that as far as I can remember, you know, or working with psychics, healers, and empaths as long as I can remember. I've been doing that. And I think we can sort of find our purpose by looking, what's that thing that you've always done that you can't help but do. And because I work with healers, I see a lot of healers that are pretty placed in like corporate world. Like they have big corporate jobs, or they work in restaurants, or they work in places that are not a healing center. And I think that that's just fine. Like if you're going to be a light in the darkness, where better than a corporate world? You know, like sometimes we're kind of put on assignment. Doesn't mean you have to quit your day job and become, you know, uh, open a healing studio. Maybe you have that corporate day job that pays all your bills because that's the place that needs love, or that's the place that, you know, where you're meant to inspire. Because I think leadership, you know, it is a purpose. Some people have a purpose of inspiring and being leaders. Some people have creativity as a purpose, or caretaking, you know, or I mean, sort of an infinite variety of it. But you could have a caretaking, you know, purpose and be in a corporation where people really need help. You know, like sometimes we can just do that where we're planted in the world, that still gives us a paycheck that we can live on.
Exactly. And it's worth saying, like, you're living your purpose through training healers and psychics, you know, and that's become like your mission. But I still agree, like, you know, it's your expression of how you teach and how you show up and how you communicate with your students, that's really that's the purpose. It's the expression behind the modality you're doing, but you still could be doing anything, and it can change, right? That
has changed a lot.
It has changed, and because you evolve as a person, and and what you like and what you don't want to do anymore, and so, but like your purpose is still the frequency behind whatever you're doing.
Yeah, I often think that we also have like an outward facing purpose and an inward facing purpose, you know, and sometimes they're connected. They're related, but the outward facing purpose might be leadership, and you came here to change the world, and you're the be the change kind of person. And as an outward, and your inward purpose is like to learn how to receive love, or to, you know, experience relationship in a different way than you ever have, or heal your childhood wounds, or whatever it is. It's like kind of like an internal, when we turn our purpose in towards ourselves, sometimes it looks different than when we're focused it out on into the world. And I think people miss that sort of internal step because we think purpose is how we show up in the world. And I do think that's a part of it, but I also think we have like an internal purpose. And for me, like my external purpose has always been pretty easy. Like it goes well and things it's like kind of a flow, but the internal one is tricky, you know. That's where like my hardest lessons have been.
Would you also say, because often I know you and I both use this language of like, there's your life purpose, which is true in this lifetime. And then there's your more like your soul purpose, which is what we're talking about here, which is like that frequency. And would you agree with that? That's the external and internal?
Kind of, yeah. Like that's a good way to think about it. Like what you've come to do, what the work you've come to this particular incarnation to do. You know what I mean? And that's sort of the internal thing, you know, and it might be like healing yourself. And you don't have a lot of people who are in a healing lifetime. They're spending 80% of their energy doing internal work. And they often feel those are hard lifetimes. We all go through them. And I feel like those people have a lot of judgment against themselves because they're not sort of showing up in the world like other people are, which we shouldn't compare, but we do. And I think there's something really sacred, and important and meaningful and tender about our internal purpose, right? So I think, yeah, that's like the incarnation, the setup for this incarnation's lessons, right?
Yeah.
And that external purpose is, I feel like from lifetime to lifetime, it's pretty congruent, although not always, sometimes, we're complicated and we want to have different, because you could be like a warrior in one life and a healer in the next life. And, but there's some kind of essential quality of who you are that's continuous throughout all of it, because it's your soul is unique.
Yeah, exactly. And I've even heard it go so far as say like that congruency that is almost like part of your personality, the personality that even if we've done all the work in the world and we've gotten our karma down to zero, like our personality still comes with us.
That's right.
Through and it's going to be slightly different because in this lifetime I'm female, next lifetime I might be male, like it's going to be different. But that does kind of go from lifetime to lifetime. And I do want to say, because I've heard this a lot, like the confusion of and sort of suffering around this topic is like finding your purpose or figuring it out can imply like that your purpose is external, that it's separate from you, that it's something you have to get. And if you don't get it, then there's something wrong with you.
You failed life.
Yeah, you're behind or you're lost, you're failing, everybody else has it figured out. So that's just like this loop of pressure that creates like this constant searching. And that's the thing that I feel like is most important to understand, is that that's not true. So, and that the pressure to find your purpose is often the very thing that's blocking you from feeling it, because alignment happens on an embodied level, right?
Yeah.
And when you're in alignment, meaning again, like that inner state matches what you're doing and how you're doing it. So when you're aligned, you're not spending energy fighting or resisting. You're just moving, and those doors really just open. That's when you know. But this is also on the nervous system layer, because when it brings up a fear or like, pressure, that's a state of dysregulation. And by default, we're going to start forcing. And that force feels like, the only path available to us is the one that we're used to, that it closes all the potential. And we go to the safety, or the choice that's the safest, which is going to be the job that we probably hate the most, and
the devil,
What's that?
The devil,
Yeah. And it becomes like a drag, and life is not fun. And so, doing the work to really regulate yourself first and learn how to be in alignment, often it just requires enough of that regulation that you can actually sense what's true for you in your body. And in that way, alignment isn't just a mindset shift. It's like a felt sense capacity, and so when you're present enough with your body to know what alignment even feels like, before you can then move from that. So it's just a layer of like, this is always an internal job. All the work that we do.
Oh, always. I'm really fascinated about sort of the midlife crisis, because I think a lot of times the midlife crisis is like really like the midlife readjustment,
Totally.
And because I think when we're in our 20s, when we're in college or whatever we're doing in our young adulthood, we're often you know, still trying to meet the parameters that our parents set for us or that society sets for us. Like we're trying to like do it right, you know, whatever the rules or ideas we have about what that is. And that's sort of, you know, and because we don't really know ourselves that well at that age, you know, we're like, well, I guess I'll go to law school. My parents really want me to do that. Or I guess I'll, you know, I think you get married and you have kids or you work some corporate job. Like you get the house in the suburb, like you do the thing. And then as we live and we come into midlife and we gain experience, we know ourselves and we do our inner work, we maybe realize that that the choices we made in our early life are not who we are anymore or never maybe were, you know?
Yeah.
And that midlife readjustment, quarter life crisis, midlife crisis is an opportunity to kind of, you know, really adjust and make choices based on who we know ourselves to be now as we've matured a little bit. And I just think it's sort of, although midlife crises are they can be incredibly painful to go through, they can also be so liberating. And I like it that we have kind of like a societal like out, you know, like we all know that's true, you know. So you could do a total like life crash and burn at 40 and people are like, yeah, midlife crisis, like this sort of sucks, but good for you, you know what I mean? Like that, thank God we have that little not locked into it forever, you know.
A little excuse.
Yeah.
Do you wanna know something that's cool about, midlife crisis is that it's actually based on Saturn returning into the orbit from the day you were born, 27
Yeah.
to 29 years, every
Right.
27 to 29 years, so there's the first crisis happens when you're between 27 and 30.
Right.
And everybody had it. You were either like completely lost or you're doing a whole bunch of drugs or you were just like something was a little bit crazy because you didn't
Yeah.
feel like and there's the 27 club,
Yeah.
all of these rock stars and famous folk who died at 27.
Right.
That's Saturn return. And then the next Saturn return is 52, around 52, and that's the midlife crisis. And so it's
Mm,
exactly what you're explaining, that it's like a complete life adjustment. Like, what am I doing with my life? Who
yeah.
am I? Why am I here? And that's because Saturn has reorbited into
Fascinating.
I know.
I love that. I didn't make that connection, but it's so true.
It's so true. And then again, what's 27 years after that? You're in your late 70s.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, that's so fascinating. And I think like, you know, as we, you know, we talk about this a lot in our on our podcast and in our school, like when you as you refine living from that place, as you live more and more authentically and living more from yourself, the world changes around you for so many reasons, you know, um, because the outer world is a manifestation of our inner state of consciousness, because these universal laws are in action, what we're vibrating, what we're resonating, the world changes around us. So you might go through a big spiritual opening and like lose all your friends, get divorced, or change your jobs, you know. And I mean, we talk about this a lot, losing all your friends on the spiritual path, you know,
Yeah.
and it's painful, can be painful, but also like think liberating. So these adjustments are happening all the time, like sort of in real time as we grow and evolve, the outer world changes. And that's sort of like the through line for me, of showing up and being yourself and then not worrying about it too much because the world sort of rearranges around that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I totally agree. And in order to just to understand the how to do this more, like you were saying, is learning how to be really present with ourselves. I think being able to be present in the moment, and and understanding that presence really becomes like tuning a radio. And it's like for each one of us, we're not creating a signal, we're just removing the static from the signal that,
Mhm.
because the frequency that we're talking about is already there. It's
Yeah.
we are each emitting a frequency. And when we're fully present and we've done, we're doing more of this deeper inner work, like that's the static that we're removing. And the presence is, I believe, is what lets you actually receive all of the information and the opportunities that are in alignment with our purpose. So practicing a lot of presence, which is, in itself hard, can be hard. We need to learn.
Right. All those ways. And maybe it's meditation, maybe it's journaling, maybe it's, just sitting with feelings as they come up, and not squishing them. And that for me is a constant. All those things are a constant, minute by minute practice.
Yeah.
Watching where I want to dodge or avoid, the feelings or the thoughts, like just myself,
Yeah.
And I think like the more time we spend in that, I don't know, I think a lot about, I love the Wizard of Oz as sort of a metaphor of the spiritual journey,
Yeah.
but Dorothy wants to go home, and she just look down at your feet. The yellow brick road is literally starting at her feet, like right at her feet. And I think, I love the red shoes. Like we could do a whole podcast on the symbolism of the Wizard of Oz. The red shoes is sort of the activated first chakra, right? Grounded in the body. And you just take the next step. Like I really, most of the time, don't know the long game plan here. Like but I always know the next step to take.
Yeah.
Like it's the yellow brick road. Look down and take the next step. And if if you're in alignment with yourself, and you're not out of phase with yourself, you're in alignment, it's going to be the right step. How could it not be?
Yeah. And they're moving, I love that, because they're moving towards the Emerald City, and green, of course, is of the heart. So if we're moving like with the intention of an open heart, it can't go wrong.
That's right.
And so that with that, the invitation is to stop asking, what is my purpose? And start asking, how aligned am I right now with who I actually am? And from that place, you can easily make the next step, because like we're not missing it. We're not missing anything. We're already carrying it within us. And I feel like that takes a lot of pressure off. And, because you can be living your purpose in the conversations that you have, and just being present simply by how present you are and aligned with every single thing that you do in your life. And then you're living your purpose.
That's right. Yeah. It's unrolling the yellow brick road is unrolling under your feet right there.
Exactly. Yeah. Gosh, we could really do such a fun podcast on all that. So I'm like,
we should, right?
Like Dorothy and how she shows
she's
up,
my
and how she's scared.
My favorite clairvoyant. She's my favorite clairvoyant. She's like the perfect example of being able to see reality and to see what really is. And
that's super fun.
Yeah, we should do that.
So, just to everybody out there, like, you're not behind, you're not lost, you're already living it. And just choosing presence and alignment over force. We got this.
Yeah.
See you in your frequency. Yep. And thanks for being here. This has been a fun conversation, and you can always re-listen, on podcast channels. If you like this conversation, leave us some notes. Let us know how you like it in the comments section, and
do the likey and subscribey clicky things for sure.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
And visit us on our website, quantum-mystic.com, if you want to know more about the Quantum Mystic School of Consciousness that we teach in, because we hope to see you there.